Good evening. You are listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you, of course, as always, from the Pine Hills Palace in the Xtreme Studios just west of Orlando, Florida. I also have from South Central Florida the young 20-something Professor Pixel, who co-hosts with me when we're doing our TV shows, a lot of them, particularly our Mission Impossible series that we're finishing up, the original show, Season 1. And Pixel, tonight we're changing directions here a little bit. We're going to go with a movie tonight that is from the sex god himself, Mr. Burt Reynolds from the 70s. We're going to be talking a lot tonight about fashion, body hair. Uh, Sharky's Machine, of course, is the movie I'm referring to from 1981 with Rachel Ward. And we've got some issues with RDV coming. He should be here shortly. I know he's really hyped up for this too, because this is a kick-ass kind of film. And I want to ask you, starting off, as people start following here in the chat, first of all, this is the first watch for you, correct?
Yes.
All right. So, Burt Reynolds, when you do look at him, what do you think? How do you feel about Burt Reynolds? You have not really been present when we've done some Burt Reynolds stuff, so I'm curious as what your initial thought was going into this film.
I mean, obviously he's a very iconic man. But it's kind of that, I think the only real thing that real movie I've seen him in is his little bit in Mad Dog Time. That's a disgrace to his career. I know. I'm sorry, but it's funny because there are quite a few people from this movie that are in Mad Dog Time. It's very like the main assassin and Burt Reynolds both in it. That's two more than I expected. But no, he's got a presence. Absolutely. I don't know if sex god is what I was going for, but
he owned the 70s, bro.
I know. He had women at his feet. Yeah, I know.
Well, from Central Florida, obviously this past Thanksgiving weekend, we had the Florida State game, which the Gators put up a pretty solid effort, I would say, until, of course, they find a way to lose or whatever. So for you Gator fans, I understand exactly what you're going. As a UCF guy myself, I can share in your misery, but God damn it, those fucking Seminoles won. And Burt Reynolds was known as an athlete for Florida State, I believe, in the 50s, and spent a lot of time cutting his teeth on these little roles before he started getting bigger ones. So when he gets into Sharky's Machine, he had pretty much a whole decade of the 70s, kind of starring these what I like to call Southern movies, because when people think of the South, they think of, like, say, Virginia, they think of the Carolinas. Atlanta's its own kind of beast, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this film. But Florida's its own thing. So you had Smokey and the Bandit, you had Gator, you had White Line, you had all these fun films, Cannonball Run, of course. He could have just as very easily, Burt Reynolds, just took a shirt off occasionally, did a stupid little laugh while chewing gum, winked, nodded, smiled, had a good time, make a shit ton of money. But at the same time, there's a part of him that really, I think, wanted to kind of step up and do something a bit more creative. And I think he really scored a major hit here with Sharky's Machine. He directed this movie, actually. And the guy who wrote this novel, he's the same guy that did, I think, Primal Fear at 96, which everyone went apeshit about, because that's a great movie itself, with Richard Gere in it, too, as the lawyer and all that. And it's, it's got that old classic 1940s film noir type feel to it. It's very sexy. There's a lot of good violence in here, and the cast is incredible. Henry Silva, the main assassin guy who screams, who takes all those muscle painkillers, whoever says doesn't feel it when he gets shot, and all sorts of stuff. Great stunts. This is a good movie. Soundtrack's phenomenal. A lot of jazzy, sexy stuff going on to it. A lot of great shots in it. I forgot how good this film was because I hadn't seen it in a really, really, really long time. So I wanted to ask you too, with this whole Burt Reynolds thing, is this your first real Burt Reynolds movie, start to finish?
Yeah, it is. Starring and directing.
Yeah,
this is his baby.
It is, and let's just start off right here at the beginning with the opening shot. Again, going back in the 70s, 80s, getting some of these above ground shots that you normally would get from, say, a drone footage or whatever. It's really cool to see how the camera plays in on the city for a really long time. You've got downtown Atlanta. You've got, I think, the Omni, which I don't think is there anymore. You've got looks like the convention center, some of the big buildings, the Turner building for TBS fans. So it brought back a lot of nostalgia, because TBS is a big channel down here in the South. But you see him walking on by himself, and he's going to a drug deal that ends up going bad because some some goofy ass guy in a beard pulls up and is like, "Hey, Sharky!" And so there's a little foot chase. And I have to sit there and say, I thought this was a great way to introduce us to the character of Sharky. He is somebody that when you look at him, you go, "What's different about Burt Reynolds?" And the fact is he had been known for a very long time of wearing a hairpiece, but he went with his own hair here, and he's got the corduroy vest on and everything too. I'm like, man, this is great stuff. Nice little foot chase here in the middle of the city, and I absolutely loved it when he chases the goon down and they end up on the public bus, and he just shoots the guy in the leg, and the guy accidentally shoots something else. You're like, man, I can see where this gets fucked up pretty quick. What this movie does do well is it shows you difficulties that cops actually have in doing their job. Even though it's kind of silly with him pulling up his badge to make the bus driver stop and all that too. But I really enjoyed how we got to be introduced to the character of Sharky, and then of course his demotion because of what transpired, as well as the political angle of the guy running for governor and him going down to the pimps division, as I like to think of it. How did this reel you in?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a good set to go ahead and get us into the character. What's shocking is, of course, once the mission's like mission, I say this isn't James Bond.
Yeah.
Once the job is done, he goes ahead and he's like, "Okay, I'm done. Goodbye." He has the new plans. He's going to go to some. What did he say? So, what did his friend say? Like a podunk town, basically. Nothing happens there. The last thing that happened there was a suicide. It was an open and shut case, if you know what I mean. But yeah, no. After this big drug deal, he is done. He wants something smoother. Of course, he doesn't get that.
Yeah, what I liked about the direction of this film here is that, like, for example, when he gets introduced, when he, is clearing off his stuff and his partners, talk to him, he's like, man, I don't go downstairs somewhere. And they're going down into the basement, basically. And he's there and he meets up with a bunch of people that will end up being his partners, for lack of a better term. That's his machine, Sharky's machine, the people that help him out on the case he's going to get involved in here shortly. What I liked about it was how it was shot. It feels like it's a small clustered room. I forget how much I absolutely love seeing people smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, and there's trash. You felt like you were sitting in a chair in that room. You've got the den there of all the people sitting in there. It's where all the creeps and the pedos go, all the hookers and the sleaze bags. It's where you don't want to work. So you have to have a certain kind of mentality, I think, to suffer through that. And he's not used to it. But once he finds out what's going on with the people, there's an interesting little part here where they come up with some phone numbers. And the way they do it is because there's names like Domino and Catherine and a few others. And then they sit there in a nice little piece of detective work. He's like, wait a minute. A is what? 1, 2, 3, like that. And so he translates these names into phone numbers to dial them. So he goes and gets wiretaps for it. But there's one that he can't get, and that's the one that's Domino. And that's what he wants to go chase down because he knows that that's significant. Why? Because he's going to be turned down for it. So we already know that you got a guy running for like governor, that he's gotten demoted, which obviously would happen in that case. Of course, you don't have social media like you do today, but the hint of the background corruption that and the big city politics involving everybody's great. Even with the main guy yelling at him saying, hey man, I've only got 2 years left to go, I'm just trying to ride my time out here. And basically how the other guys introduced him, hey, these guys are good cops, but they didn't take any bullshit. That's why they ended up here. Means they didn't know how to play along to get along. So it's a nice introduction, and I thought he did a really good job of letting each of the people that worked with him in this movie shine too.
Yeah.
So that was something that was pretty interesting to me.
Especially the childhood friend. They went to school together. And
Fletcher's boss.
Man. Do you remember Rosario or whatever the name was? I loved her. She reminds me of her. Did you sleep with her? I'm not going to be mad or anything. I just want to know, what am I going to do? Yes, I did. Oh, shit. It's good banter. Each of them have a strong... Well, I don't know if we're worried about spoilers or not.
Nope.
But even on the brink of death, the banter is good between these characters. I want him in the ground.
Yeah,
it's
realistic, and I think the thing too is we see a scene in here where you got a rich guy. He's with a very beautiful woman of the night, who I believe is blind, the Asian woman, and that's our first hint that something's going down because it's the late 70s. Of course, it's 81, but it's a movie that came out late 81, I believe. So it came out in early 82. But of course, you had a lot of people from Vietnam and all that. So that was a theme that you would see in a lot of 80s films. And this woman is absolutely stunning, gorgeous, even by today's standards or whatever, very natural looking and all that. And I like how the film, there's a voyeuristic type of element to this movie. It's like watching Rear Window, if you like that sort of thing, which I do. It reminds me of Body Double, Brian De Palma. Not so much Color of Night, but there's a similar kind of jazzy vibe to it. I really like how he shows each woman in here and what's going on. And it's like, yeah, well, why are we surprised? Okay, the woman's rubbing oil on the guy's chest, feeling him up. But then that's when we get introduced to our hitman who comes in there and whacks the dude. And you're like, man, that's pretty friggin' graphic and pretty disgusting. And I liked it. And it's just, you're getting slowly drawn into this because it basically, as for a 2-hour movie, because it's pretty long, it's pretty moderately paced. There's definitely action in it. But the movie, I think, really sets you up for the long haul here for this first hour, showing a couple of the different high-end prostitutes and all the different people that are involved in here because of the way it's going to get pieced together in that second to third act. So in here, we're just meeting that. We're meeting the main dude who's in charge of all the prostitutes. I thought he did a pretty solid job. And it gets a little darker when we start paying attention to what's really going on with the guy bringing the girls in and stuff like that too. But before we get to Rachel Ward, the domino of the movie, I wanted you to take a few moments to interject a couple comments or observations.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the setup of the machine, like numbers, working that out. Him setting it up and looking it out. Rear Window is the first thing that came to my mind too.
Okay,
because,
it's obvious. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's people watching. It's a little stalkerish, but it's not done. Obviously, it's for the police, so it's for a good cause. They're trying to take down a ring, but there's still something that feels wrong, but you understand it. And also, as we're going to meet Domino, the idea of falling in love with someone across the street through a window it's fun.
It's a little absurd, but I want to get another opinion about this whole initial setup and how Sharky met his people and how he's getting ready to get set up on here before he meets Domino. And of course, we are joined by RDV from the Great Midwest, sir. We just spent a few minutes talking about the sexy godliness of facial hair. Burt Reynolds using his real hair here, and of course his corduroy suit jacket, which I love.
Burt's porn stash, but it doesn't work if he doesn't have the bandit hat on.
You don't think so?
No, it just looked like every other guy from like that time period. Charles Bronson had the better facial hair.
Well, was this a first watch for you, RDV? I know you and I've.
This was a first watch for me, and it was a bloody fantastic movie, dude. All the way through. My only complaint is that, wow, do I hate everyone that's on the Vice Squad? They should just all die. Every single one of them, even the friend who does the technician stuff. He just talks the whole entire time. Right there, I would have thrown him out the window.
Yeah.
It just makes you. It's like, now we always talk about movies are they trying to make cops look incompetent, like fools? And this kind of made it feel like, especially the Vice Squad, the way how it was. They're in the basement. Once you go there, you never come back.
Right.
But that was kind of the point.
Yeah, and I think too, RDV, you know, I've talked about with the Xtreme Movie Show being 80s based. When we cover that stuff, we kind of bring up these themes about cops being shown as incompetent and with the political stuff to it. So I agree, it's definitely here in the film.
Well, I gotta say though, the one thing that threw me for a curveball, it was Smiley. Smiley is the one that interrupted him and caused him almost to get shot. And it caused the whole scene with the drug scene lost,
yes,
going sideways. But we find out there's a reason why he did that, because, well, Smiley is not a good cop. He's a corrupt.
He's on the take, bro.
He's on the take, bro. And
he's a bad boy.
The villain, you're talking about the villain who looks like David Carradine's brother.
Henry Silva as
Henry
the
Silva.
He's fantastic.
I had to look twice. I'm like, I swear that's Carradine's brother. No, but it's not. Coke addicted, junkie. Taking some PCP, which we could have cool because I love the whole PCP thing. This is 1981, and they're like, oh, we found this pill here. Let's take it to the lab. Let's do the whole thing, the forensic science stuff. I was just like, they're really going, they're stretching this part out. Like, here's a little vial here. Same thing with the cocaine in the very beginning. Yep. He takes a cotton swab and he puts it inside the vial to test the purity. I normally don't see that unless it's on a forensic cop show. I don't really see that on movies a lot. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I felt bad for Sharky because so many people in here were just so obnoxious. The main guy who's working for in Vice, literally doesn't care about anything. He just wants to get his pension.
Yep.
He's 2 more years. The other guy, what was his name? Papa. Was flirting with the hooker, giving her chicken, all that stuff, just at the desk.
He was kind of funny.
Oh my gosh, and then the one guy, I forgot what his name is, but he's the only black cast member, I guess. So, I can't remember there being more, but the dude's like 7 foot tall, just like linebacker.
He played professional football. The actor is Barney Casey. You've seen him and stuff before, but he has that chill martial arts vibe. He's very spiritual. All he wants to do is eat sushi.
Very spiritual.
He is, right?
I know. Yeah, gotta have faith. When he gets shot later on, he's like,
what I was just saying, right when you were hooking up here, was that I thought this movie, who Burt Reynolds himself directed, the guy who wrote the novel did Primal Fear. So the guy's got that good stuff. He, I think you have a really great film here, and he kind of not swerves you, but he shows you stuff that to your point, and you already said this, that you don't normally see in stuff. And so you see how he kind of fucks up the shooting the assailant on the bus or whatever, and then that's why he gets demoted. And you see some detective work. Everybody gets a chance to kind of shine a little bit, add to his group without overpowering him.
To me, getting demoted to Vice Squad, I thought you'd be rewarded going into Vice, going from narcotics into Vice, because, man, Miami Vice made it look like it was just cakewalk,
Yeah, but Miami Vice ended up being cynical once you finished that.
I know, but
I know, right? But that's Miami Vice is still a couple years away at this point.
Yeah,
so that's sexy yet.
So like I said, the whole the opening scene where he's walking in, Burt Reynolds is walking into under the bridge and stuff like that. It's just like all trash everywhere. And he's like, the last time I saw anything like this was when it was in New York. It was in Wolfen.
Yes.
Yes. Destroyed buildings.
Grimy and grungy and realistic, not like the way movies are shot today.
Yeah. So I like that, but the whole precinct was kind of like a police academy for a second. Was watching, everybody's in there. But my point is is getting, once you get to where he starts doing the surveillance and stuff like that, and you can tell they show Henry Silva in the other room also watching her too, and you get the uncomfortable scene with Rachel Ward, meeting Victor or whatever the guy's name is, and the guy basically wants to have one more fling with her. But then you find out how dirty this guy is. This guy basically raised her since she was 12 years old, groomed her.
As he says later on, he taught her, and then later on, she got so good, she started teaching him some things.
Yeah, I was so gross. I was like,
but it sounds cliche, right?
No, yeah.
The way the guy says it and the way this is occurring makes you feel disgusted, despite all the stuff in 40 plus years since this movie's come out that's supposed to shock us and scare us. None of that hardly sticks, but it works here.
Yeah, it would have been more shocking if this was a Roman Polanski film, but but anyway, no. So the whole thing with this guy Victor, he's got the politician, and he wants him to run for I guess the president was, or governor, and I guess he wants to use a plan. It's it just felt so weird as a plot, for that. Who wrote this? Is this based off a book, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So it just felt so weird. Like, wouldn't you think like guys like, oh, here's your trip. I'm going places. I can stay here or you can go with me. I'm thinking like, are you going for president? Go for president. You don't go for settle for governor. Governor has no pull whatsoever.
I would disagree with that, and definitely here in the South, I think that's really a big deal.
Yeah.
And basically with all the corruption we know that's been going on in Fulton County, which is where this takes place, and has been going on for a very long time. I think it's kind of ironic just the way current things are.
It just seems like baby steps. Like this guy's supposed to be like an uber power, like guy, powerful behind the scenes, political point, and he's just using this guy, and the whole plot with this Rachel Ward's getting too close, calling the guy judges, so he has her basically killed. And the crazy thing is, you see Henry Silver walk up to the door elevator, and like you see, he's got a sawed-off shotgun. I was like, dude. He rings the doorbell or knocks her. She goes to answer it, and then bam, and then later on you see the face all blown off. Oh, I'm like, oh dang! It's like, well, I guess Rachel Ward's not done in this movie, and so the plot twist that she's still alive. It was Tiffany. Yep. Poor Tiffany. Yep. No longer breakfast at Tiffany's.
Or breakfast in Tiffany.
Well, it's on the wall, but I mean,
she can hardly face it.
So this movie is like, I'm going back and forth because I'm annoyed by like some of the characters, like especially when they're like at the baseball stadium, and they're like, I'm like, they're sitting there. He's like, I didn't get a chance to see it. Too bad. Here, let me see it. They're looking at photos. Here, let me see. I was like, it's just so clowning around. Like, is this supposed to be a thriller or a comedy? Because it felt like it was more comedy.
There were some ad-lib scenes in here, and some of them are noticeable. I think the big thing here in the scene you're talking about and a few others, it's really, especially with Victor, of course, it's really cliche and stupid to think, okay, Rachel Ward is $1,000 a night, and that'd be like $5,000 by today's money.
She's a dancer.
Right? Yeah, she does the aerobics by day and screws this governor guy by night for $1,000 a pop, and of course she's just working her way through whatever school at this time. But it's so cliche to think, okay, stripper with a heart of gold, escort that could fall in love, that she's not damaged just because she is.
Yeah.
A lot of these scenes are about power, and at the point here where the people that really had nothing to bite their teeth on, these goofballs, once Sharky gave them purpose, I think the guy got even more incensed because they were only listening to Sharky, and they wanted to nail this guy. They wanted to do one thing. They wanted to value. They wanted to matter. And I think you could argue that's the same thing with Rachel Ward's character in here too. She wanted to have a normal relationship, kind of, sort of.
Victor wasn't even that creepy at all. Like, he was a little bit, and then Henry Silver appears on there. It's like, Henry Silver should be the boss. He's the one that's going around knocking people off. He should be like Lance Henriksen. It's like, I have to do this shit myself because you're all incompetent. This other guy he felt like the guy from Kindergarten, a Cop and a Half. The cop. It's kind of felt like that. I forgot what the actor's name is, but anyway, so it's like, so it wasn't really intimidated by Victor. Victor was just kind of pervy. That's all he was, in a sense, And then she pops him like ecstasy or something like that in order to sleep with the guy because she's just so disgusted. And then. But later on, after Sharky's over at her apartment, and all of a sudden she shows up, I'm thinking like, is he hallucinating? Because he was like really getting after her, watching her for the past week or so, when she's in bed, he's in bed. I'm like, really? I know. And then so then they go to his childhood home. I was like, now we can tell it was directed by Burt Reynolds because this scene and all stuff, I was like, what are you doing there? Nothing. Oh, is it a window seat? Yeah. And he's hiding the thing because he originally tried to kiss her before and she turned him down. Pixel,
this is called foreplay.
Yeah. And then later on, first they went to the place. She was pissed off. And she he wanted a name. He wanted Victor's last name. She wouldn't give it to him. And then so then he basically she slaps him and he grabs. He's like, and she's like, and he hits her back. He's like, you like hitting people? You get off? He's like, sometimes. I just love that. I was like, I'm watching this before he even hits her. I'm like, oh shit, we're getting a Sean Connery moment here. Sometimes you're just gonna slap a woman, and he does it. I was like, oh. It was just insane. Burt Reynolds hitting a woman. I think the last time I think most I've seen him doing anything was Smoking a Bandit, where he basically like carries someone over his shoulder, or something like that. Nothing like hitting. But so then like I'm thinking like, okay, obviously they're gonna pair these two up. They're gonna be romantic, because at first I thought she was gonna use him, like trick him or try, because whenever you tell someone, hey, your life's in danger, they always leave you and put themselves in danger and get themselves killed. And I thought this was the way it was going to go, because when the politicians run, he's at the rally, and I gotta say the way he talks really sounds like a Donald Trump impersonation. I don't
know this guy, I think, ended up playing on Dallas for a while too. I think Cliff was his name in Dallas for a long time. So this guy's wasn't. I mean, this is a really good cast. I know Rachel was new, but he was a powerful local dude.
You see her popping up the crowd. I'm thinking like he's like freaking out. He thinks he's seen a ghost, because Victor basically already told him, they like, oh, I killed your girlfriend. He's like, what do you mean you killed her? He's like, it's like she was getting away. She's a loose end, And like and then you see Burt Reynolds pops up, but like I said, like there's so many like awesome manly Burt Reynolds movies in this, If that's just not discounting you seeing his facial hair, but going and you see him when he confronts Victor, he's like, you got nothing on me, cop. We deleted your tapes, they killed his best friend, and I don't know did they kill the family too, because when he went to the guy's house, the kids weren't there, or the daughter wasn't there. There was the wife. I can't remember if they said if they mentioned, but
no, they didn't mention whether or not the wife and kids were.
Because remember he made a call. He's like he called them.
It was unclear to me too.
He would call
Fletch's
him.
boss. He had whacked him off screen. I don't know about the other people's family. But we basically see his team get decimated.
We saw a dialogue though. As far he called Burt Reynolds, and they're on the phone. And he's like, and Burt Reynolds like, dude, get out of there. Get your friends and family, get out there. So who knows? He might have called his family first, and they might have left.
And then Sleepy Joe came to attack.
Joe Biden sofa.
No.
Shotgun. Joe Biden with a shotgun.
His name is Sleepy Joe because that was his name in the hit movie, one of the best of all time, Mad Dog Time.
Oh, okay. You have too much eggnog. All right.
The original Sleepy Joe.
So, like, there's so many different scenes in this pop for this. There's a scene in there where finally, once his name gets whacked over the back of the head, the ninjas take him out when he's fighting, because he goes look for his friend, and the two ninjas just randomly jump up. Like I said, the ninjas just jumping out of here was like, oh my gosh, it's like ninja. I was like thinking like Chuck Norris like film, because like
Octagon action.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is there ninjas in here for? This is so random. It felt like a Kickstarter movie in a sense. I'm like, where's Tommy Wiseau? But overall, like I said, I love when he gets whacked. The whole scene with the fingers getting chopped off. We get this Smiley reveals it's him, and like I took your pizza. He's like, oh shit. It's like he can't. He's like, yeah. So then, like I said, the whole thing, how he basically overcome, even missing his two fingers, they chopped off. He just overpowers them, takes a gun, just pulls empty the whole clip. The whole entire movie, it was just fun. I said I did not expect to like this. I was like, it's Burt Reynolds. I'm like, I've seen Burt Reynolds movies, but only like Smokey and the Bandit, and I think a few others. So I'm like, is this gonna be a weird Smokey, like a kind of boring movie, or is this gonna be like a box? Because I didn't look and see if it was a box office hit or not.
It was a hit, big time.
Oh yeah, and now I understand why. Because the whole scene, the dude's he killed the one ninja, just shot him. The guy waiting for the come here, he's like shot him, and then he goes out. He's armed with the harpoon gun.
The ninjas were the best part. They just felt like they were there to me. Like, why do we have ninjas? Why not?
I know, it's like, yeah, because ninjas are awesome. It's 80s. Yeah.
Well, this is one of the first times too we really hear in graphic detail, going back a little bit to talk about Rachel Ward's character Domino, is that not only did Victor basically peddle children and turn them into horse and all that back in Vietnam times, whatever, which people did in the war. You even got a scene where his African American partners talked about how he only paid for it one time, or that's an ad lib scene. So you're getting presented to you as the movie watcher that, hey, yeah, people went over there to fight in the war in Vietnam, shit happened that had nothing to do with the war, with all this kind of stuff, and that kind of leftover stuff with wars kind of still permeates. And of course, with Miami Vice, we was talking about a lot of that too. But
Well, they had Vietnam and stuff. So.
Yeah, so in here, I think they're trying to introduce that. Plus, it's a super hot thing. The '70s martial arts and ninjas were, as we would always talk about on our Canon Classic reviews, the immense popularity of them.
Yeah, he takes out the second ninja, pops up, and he's like, he's got the harpoon gun, and he fires a harpoon gun. He's like, and then the guy's like, oh shit, and then he kind of like waits for him, like, hey, can you push me over the boat? He's like, it's.
Well, the violence in here, look. There's
insane.
enough of it, and it's graphic enough where it's disgusting, and it works. So I'm always an advocate for effective violence.
Yeah, the shotgun to the face was like the most, like, as far as the thing. I was like, dang, they showed the face, like the dummy. I was like, oh my, because usually be a lot more graphic if it would have been like like a horror movie, but they really toned it down, but it's still graphic enough. Like, if a shotgun gets you, your face is gonna be caged or it's missing.
It's gonna be
yeah, that too. It's like. Well, it depends what kind of rounds he's using. I mean, if he's using like buckshot, it's gonna be disgusting. Like, but if he's using a rubber round, that thing's gone.
Well, the first clue of go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know I was shitting on all the other people that worked with him, but the guy who works in the morgue was my favorite.
Why?
Because he was just like, he was the least annoying and most competent at his job. And him and the other guy were explaining as like how they're forensic guys there, how the guy came in and like they actually knew what they're talking about. The other guys just kind of seemed like, oh, I got the black I forgot what his name is, the black officer. He's like, this one time I answered a call, and it's suspicious to you, and the guy came out of the closet, pulled the gun on me. I just froze. I emptied it, and I just kind of walked out there, and like I was a ghost, man, a ghost. I was like, what is this ad-libbing here? It's obviously because it didn't seem like it was really important to the movie. But then again, he gets shot later on. I'm thinking like, you weren't a ghost then, but you're going to be soon.
One of the critiques for the book was actually that the book, Sharky's Machine, felt like it was trying to be 4 different novels all at once.
Yes. That's the movie felt.
But I don't think that really applies to the movie. I think it succeeds. I really enjoyed it. I didn't hate the cast members. The old friend from high school was a little weird, but
it's a guy from Stranger
Things. I
liked
hearing about his family. I liked hearing about what he wanted. Yeah, no, he's stuck in this, but it's fine. He's reconnecting with a friend. I get good feelings from that. And then the rest of the crew with him, I liked that.
See, all those guys can act, and they're fine, and they're great actors, and a lot of them have been around for a very long time.
Yeah,
but it only works if you've got Gator there, Mr. Reynolds himself, because he just has that ability to kind of stick it together.
Sorry, you say Gator, I go to other guys.
I know. Well, the thing I wanted to bring up too is, at this time here in the '70s, with Burt being the sex symbol, you had this transition, and RDV, you and I have talked this a little bit too about how things went from being very chest hairy, a lot of Canadian tuxedo types. Facial hair and all that to kind of a smooth, pretty look in the 80s if you're a dude, almost feminine, which is a little disappointing, but that's just how it was. And so you kind of almost had a similar transition in terms of the women, where we went from tons of blondes, and there was a lot of brunettes and black hairs and gingers too. We don't forget you ladies. But of course, my childhood crush, of course, from Greece was Olivia Newton-John. But when I saw Rachel Ward in this, I was like, "Who is this?" She's got that husky, smoky voice. And again, what I was mentioning right when you were logging in here is that what I really liked with this movie is, especially in the scene where Sharky's doing the woodwork and basically that's the seduction scene.
Yep.
I like how Burt Reynolds directed this, because he's showing the nervous energy between the two, and that's how humans are. And Rachel Ward, my God, what a complete smoke show. And she's just got this ability, this almost innocence to her, even though she's $1,000 a night hooker, where you go, God, this is so cliche, so stupid. But you're like, I almost see it. They don't really dive into how much she's been damaged since she's basically been a slut since she was 12.
Yeah, that first time he goes, they're sitting down, and he goes in to kiss her. She turns away, and he's kind of like, oh shit. So then the second time, you can tell she's like, she's all freaking all hot to trot right away. It's like, let's go to bed, you know. But this one scene that made me laugh out loud. I was like, this is the most cringiest scene I've ever seen. And he's talking, he's like, well, and she's like, oh, the kids play. He's like, yeah, the kids. It's like, the kids are so distracting because, you know, I can't get any work done. Sometimes I just sit there and I like to watch the kids play. I can't help. I have to sit there.
Oh, that's pure Burt Reynolds trash, isn't it?
I was like, maybe we should get you a restraining order from getting that close to the school. I like watching the kids play. I'm like, that would have killed any lady boner that she had at that moment. He's like, really? That's kind of creepy. But
yeah, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, it would have.
Because you have to remember, a guy that wants kids is also considered attractive.
Wants kids.
You know?
Well, here's the thing though, with the dynamic that they didn't dive into. Her handler, the main guy, Victor.
Yeah.
He's obviously older and he's damaged from the war, and he deals with damaged people, and he damages them. That's how you break people down, sexual abuse, to repopulate them, whether it's a Manchurian Candidate or something else. It's a good movie device. And in here, if you think about it with her, supposedly she wants to be normal. She doesn't know how to be because she's never been. We don't know that much about Sharky necessarily, but you know what? He's also about the same age as Victor. So it's almost like he replaced her. And she was all excited about, you know, the governor candidate buying her a house and supposedly whatever. And I don't know how legit all that was in terms of his emotions for her, but we do honestly believe, and it's presented, that she sincerely thinks that, you know, this guy really does care for me, rather than, you know, oh, that's nice. Oh, you know, when you go buy me this, you know, she's no IG model in a way. And it's weird because it was a little uncomfortable with there's a lot of wonderful jazz in here, but I'm going, what the fuck, Burt? You're fucking Sharky. You know, you got your machine going on. Oh yeah, this is when you got to screw her and all that too, because we don't see her or those two together for the first hour of the film. We just see him watching her. So it is a little kind of cringy. I don't disagree on it, but that's Burt Reynolds, and that's his charm, where you can just look at her and smile and let the camera play on her. It works.
He had the photos of her and his childhood home where they're staying at. He's like, she's like, why do you have photos of them? I'm like, yeah, Burt, why do you have freaking photos of her, like, say, to undress on your freaking wall there? Like,
because she's hot.
I know, but still,
he's a red-blooded male. I mean, it's not like he's married. Who wouldn't? Yeah. But the first woman in here I wanted to bring up again real quick is that the age, and that was our clue to that this is going to have some sort of wartime connection with it. She was supposedly a blind lady of the night, and she was a penthouse pet. And you got Rachel.
Yeah,
complete smoke show. Everything about this. This is a sexy movie.
I felt that was so unneeded. He kills the guy, but then, like, he kills her. She can't. How is she gonna identify him? He just kills her. This is a killer. It was just like, what the heck. But yeah, you know, Rachel Ward was phenomenal in this. I was like, you guys would tell me Rachel Ward. I'm like, what is Rachel Ward? I think it's the first movie I've ever seen her in anything. I don't think I've seen the other ones. Or no, actually, no. Wait, Night School. Yeah, that's
I reviewed that. That was your first exposure to her.
Oh yeah, my second exposure.
And we haven't done Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, which would come out in '82. That really sealed the deal for me. And then, of course, I keep telling you guys about how phenomenal Against All Odds is for her and Jeff Bridges too. And of course, you know, it's just. That's Phil Collins and a whole nother subject. But yeah, let's talk about the third act, though, the ending. So basically, you'd gotten us up to the point, RDV, where you mentioned how he confronts, of course, after you know,
kill Smiley. Yeah, you know,
he goes to the guy on the little turf surrounded by all his ladies, and basically lets him know stuff. And I thought this was a little bit of a slip on the dude's part, because the guy's like, she's dead. What do you care? Or maybe I throw you a piece.
Well, that was before. That was before it. That Smiley takes him, interrogates him.
Right, but Sharky's like,
yeah,
she's alive, and you're a piece of shit. I'm gonna flush it down the toilet. There's just stupid stuff, but it's pure Burt Reynolds. You're like, okay, now it's picking up.
You see,
but then when they have the big shootout here at the end,
and the hotel scene, I kept thinking, like, I kept thinking, are they gonna do the Deadpool where they have like Clint Eastwood's inside the elevator and you're outside and you're getting shot at? You know,
Right.
I'm like, no, they didn't use that whatsoever. Even though you see it in the other side, I was like, dang it. But the stairwell, we've seen that it came back to play. So on the very first, when he killed what we thought was Rachel Ward, he took the stairs down, and then that's how he got away. And then, or actually, no, he was going to get stairs, but then he ran back up, went to the elevator, went down. This time, well, he knew, he needed to trap him, so he calls her back up, and you see he's upstairs. He's talking to his brother Victor. He's like, yeah. Victor's like, yeah, I'm leaving town. It's like, don't worry, I can just rebuild again. But he's like, take me with you. He's like, no, yeah. And at this point, I forgot they were brothers. True.
So they're both damaged.
Yeah, they're both damaged, and well, that's why one's a junkie, probably because he couldn't
got exposed to it in the war.
Yep. So he's the whole shootout, and like you see like I'm like Henry Silver, like, man, this guy's crazy. See, he's like just he's got the little vial and he knocks it out of his hand. He's like, you freaking junkie, he's pissed off. He's like, why can't you, I want you to be tough, be like your older brother. He's like, oh, be like you, okay. And then he's just like, as Victor's leaving, he's like, boom. I'm like, is he gonna fall into the aquarium? No, goes in the direction. I'm like, denied.
Yeah.
Zenad.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, because as everybody's basically killed, Popeye gets shot in stairwell. So then what's his name? Sharky and the black police officer go in there, and they follow him down there, and then black officer gets shot. And basically him and Silva on the opposite sides, point blank, shoot each other. But the Silver's got PCP power.
Yep.
And that is true with PCP. It takes a while to put you down because it's whatever's in it's like a zombie thing. It's
like Flack.
I want you to put him in the ground. I want you to put a stick through his heart because that shit ain't natural.
He said, I love what Sharky says. He's like, well, maybe he's just got more Zen than you.
That was a nice little touch because he knows his partner's dying.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry, they'll be here soon. I'm thinking like he's gonna die. Like they didn't show him die, or actually no, he was close to it though. But yeah, the whole thing, and then he's like, he's like, I'll kill him. Where he's like, he goes to confront him, and then we get like the RoboCop scene at the end of RoboCop, where he's like, you see Silva silhouette of him, and he's standing in the dark room, in this building, and the windows behind him, and he's like, Sharky, do you think I'm gonna live or do you think I'm gonna die? And Sharky's like, no, you're gonna die. He's like, but not by you. And he's got the gun. He's going to shoot him, and then Sharky just blows him away because he's like, no, I'm gonna kill you, bastard. And he falls out the window and just falls.
Oh, it's a fantastic stunt.
Oh, I love it. But I said I went back to RoboCop, which came out later, and I wonder if RoboCop took some ideas from that.
Where do you think supposedly the Christmas movie everyone likes to fuck around with and find out when they talk about Die Hard? Where do you think they got that shit from? They ripped off this movie. This is fucking cool. Sharky's Machine did all this stuff first.
Right.
Think about it. And the
Like
shot of him falling out and just seeing him go all the way down outside. That's phenomenal. That's what we want. This is what we've been promised by Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible movies. And he discovered, hey, if I hype up what we're doing, tell people that. Then when we go to have the script and I tell people, while the movie's going on in character, hey, what's going on? Hey, you're just gonna have to find another way up the mountain. Okay, I'll go up here. What about now? You got to go fast enough. We know what's coming because we've seen years worth of prep ahead of time, and it's still phenomenal. That's what happens here. They're going up the stairwell. We know there's going to be a shoot off here. He's got to kill the last dude or whatever. Yep. And he just fucking blows him. And these hand cannons, I thought RDV sounded really good.
He's got a hand cannon. Oh, the movie. He's like, no, that suspect must have a hand cannon. He's got that dirty Harry gun, basically, the Magnum. I like hand cannons. Like,
it's Dirty Harry in Atlanta is the way it's been described.
Yeah, but it's like a 50 caliber bullet, but still, it's like the shotgun does more. That's a hand cannon. The shotgun does more damage than the. So that because they're trying to figure out like what did he use, and I said the forensic part was pretty cool. I love seeing that in this movie. I'm not how much of that was actually inspired from the book, or if that was actually just added in to make it look like it was really cool. But we forgot the pimp scene in the very beginning. Was that Silva in the very beginning we see at the when Hooker? She's like, oh yeah, so and so, is blood, and then she's like, oh shit, don't kill me, because he spoke. I can't remember
Well,
who
we
it
see
was.
Silva in the background too. We see him
Yeah.
at the big estate there when he goes to whack the blind hooker, and
Yeah.
also when he goes to kill the pimp. Yeah, when he's shaking down the pimp. Yeah, we see him in the background too, and he gets whacked. Yeah, that's Senator Silva in the background.
No, I was meant like when we Sharky first goes down and clears off his desk. The guy Papa was talking to the hooker, and he basically what's his name, throws a hooker that he got from into the cage,
right?
And then she said something about how the politician.
Oh no, that guy that we see at the very beginning in the cage.
Yeah.
That's actually a cameo. That's the actual guy, William Deal, the dude that wrote it. That's a cameo.
It's the guy who gives basically whacks the cage.
That's the Alfred Hitchcock cameo. Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, who is? I'm like, that had to be something important because he's not mentioned whatsoever again. So That's kind of cool. But yeah, the pimp though, he goes to face the guy. He's like, and he just basically like throws him off. I'm like, don't drop me. You're gonna drop me, and like he dropped you like 2 feet, man. It's not like you're like being hang over like Batman over, getting ready to drop you. It's like, is this? I was like, that was just kind of weird shakedown. He didn't have to knock him over. He could just beat the shit out of him for how tall that dude was, like muscular. But I kept thinking, I'm like, this is like a reverse like 48 hours decision, like situation. Remember Eddie Murphy went into the honky tonk, bar, bar, and like this is Burt Reynolds in a black bar, and I'm thinking like he's like, bartender's like, he says, ask Burt, what did my partner say? He's like, when he touches you, you're gonna blow my dick off. Yeah, that's right, I'm gonna blow your dick off. It's just like,
but I mean, this kind of talk sounds a little juvenile, but sounds kind of realistic though.
Yeah, it does. But there's even a scene where the dude didn't somebody drop an N-word?
Yeah, early on.
Yeah, early on too. I was like, I can't remember, but I was like, dang. It's like, but overall the plot though, was actually pretty good, and I just kept thinking, I was like, Lone Wolf McQuade, like David Carradine is the bad guy, and like like Henry Silva is the bad guy, and he just died last year.
Yeah,
too.
He was an older gentleman, been around for a very long time.
Very long. He's actually in a lot of stuff.
Yes, a lot. Just done a great job as a heavy. I mean, everybody loved working with Burt. I mean, just as a fun guy, letting him do stuff, a lot of improvised stuff. You hear about that with Clint Eastwood, where he'd do like 1 or 2 takes and that's it. Not going to yell at you and scream at you. Unlike some other directors, unlike you make you do it 50 million times or whatever. It's the people had fun making this movie, and I think it shows in here because there is this chemistry that you cannot take away or practice. Brian Keith, who would be in a couple TV shows, I think in the 80s, and would be on Evening Shade with him later on, actually in the 90s. Charles Durning, but
the only thing that annoyed me about the whole movie was his friend who does the surveillance stuff, because he just wouldn't shut up. It's like, I'm thinking like Burt Reynolds, like, you shut up, we're in the middle of a thing here, and he's like, I don't like this, this part going into, they go like the hotel room next door, and then he starts touching things. I was like, I'm like, great, now we have your fingerprints all over the scene, idiot. I was like, are you a cop or are you just a ride along?
There's a reason why he's in the basement.
And the last thing we get is where the kids were playing next to his childhood home that he had bought to restore. She's on the giant tire wheel swing that, of course, people would say is unsafe today, right? And they're just kind of whatever. And then the credits roll, and I'm like, okay. But like I told you already, that's an 80s movie. Charles Bronson, with the perv, right? 10 to midnight. Yeah. Shoots him, boom, roll credits. That's all you have to do in the 80s.
That was Wolfen. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then it was odd that he had a giant jar of eggnog, and they just said like, what's up.
All right. Any other final thoughts before we go to Pixel then? RDV for this?
Like I said, this shocked me because when I think of Burt Reynolds, I think of Smokey and the Bandit, and I don't think of Smokey and the Bandit, not 2 or 3. I'm just number 1, and I love that because the whole cast and everything like this. I've seen Burt Reynolds and other things, and it wasn't that great. Now that may be a different opinion because you've probably seen more Burt Reynolds stuff than I have, but I thought Smokey was his best role. I had seen him in this, was kind of like, I could see him like seeing a homicide, kind of doing his own thing, but for the love of God, don't call him Sharky. His name's Tommy. He wrote it down on his dresser there. It's like, and she's like, oh, and then she's like, oh, Tommy really named? It's like, no, I just did it to fool my mom.
Yeah.
Just you wait until you see him in Mad Dog Time with Henry Silva. It'll be great. We're gonna have so much fun.
There's a reason why you drink a lot of alcohol, because you were trying to forget that movie and everything else, like Doctor Who currently and all that stuff.
No, Doctor Who is fine. One bad scene does not ruin the whole cookie.
Did you miss the previous seasons?
Yeah, I'm talking about the episode, but okay. For this movie is very enjoyable. I was surprised about how enjoyable it was. The trailer looked interesting, but you never know if it's going to match up. Matched up pretty well. I definitely could recommend it. If you haven't checked out Sharky's Machine, you might want to just go ahead, sit yourself down, and enjoy. That's it.
Good.
So
I liked it. Again, women were smoking.
It's good.
Yeah,
I forget the 80s, aesthetic with hair and shorts and lingerie and, the round beds, especially if you lived in an upscale apartment, and glass and everything. And it was so incredible. It touched my heart in a way. And watching it as an adult again after a long period of time, much like some of our listeners here in chat talking, I haven't seen this one in a long time, but I remember the shootout scene or this or that. It's true. There's a feeling to it and a vibe that it gets caught into you. And I was going, what's the most recent movie that's kind of similar to like this movie that's been around in the past 20, 30 years? And I had a tough time coming up with one, but overall, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Can't say I'm the biggest Burt Reynolds fan. I liked what I've seen in him, but he's one of those guys that go, it's a shtick. If you're a Florida guy like me, you're used to the Burt Reynolds kind of movies like we've talked about already a little bit. So I'm glad that he elevated himself with this too, because he produced a gem here. This is one of his best films, I think. Yeah, he was the big star in Hollywood.
The only movie I can think of that's similar to this is Cobra.
But that's in the 80s.
I know. But I'm saying that's the only thing I can think of that was close. And that was later on too. But same thing, police corruption, and the guy just trying to protect this girl.
All right, anything you guys need to plug for tonight or this week?
Just our usual thing. We're reading ads in about 20 minutes. Gonna read some Invincible issue 2, and then after that, I read some Thor versus Hulk and Journey of the Intermystery number 112.
And that's over on the Geeky Puppet Show, correct?
Geeky Puppet Show. Click on the name in the chat right there, and it'll take you right to the channel and subscribe. But while you're nerds, while you're subscribing to Geeky Puppet Show, if you haven't done so here, subscribe and click the like button.
Like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel. If you enjoy our content, please let us know. We're making more, and we'll make more if you demand it.
If you made it this far, 53 minutes into this without turning us off, you won. Also, let us know if you like his mustache in this movie. Do you think his mustache game's on, doing really well, or do you think he needs a hat for Burt Reynolds?
Yeah. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 1981, Sharky's Machine, Burt Reynolds. Check this out. This is a good film. Love it a lot. It's you want the sexy sex, you want the jazz, you want this kind of a cop film. A lot of times I ask myself, what do I want to see? And I go, what am I in a mood to see? What do I want to feel when I'm watching a movie? What's going to evoke some sort of reaction to me? And this one definitely is worth it. I think it's one of Burt's best. I know it kind of relaunched him a little bit, and he did a bunch of other things too. But if I had to put it on a short list, Sharky's Machine is going to be up there for Burt Reynolds. And Rachel Ward, I'm sure we'll be talking more about her with a couple other movies of hers, as she was a big-time star here in the early, mid-'80s going into 1990s. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for everybody showing up here tonight. Thanks for retweeting, letting people know we exist, and have a good night. We'll see you Tuesday night. Stay extreme, ladies and gentlemen. Top time mustaches of all time, 15 maybe. That's, yeah, nothing from the 90s. I promise you that. Good night now.
Good night now.